Hello and welcome to my Planet Coaster 2 Longplay. This is the first episode of a very long upcoming series in which I'll be building my very first Megapark. The park's name is the Four Kingdoms, and in this video we'll be building two sections of the first kingdom, which includes everything that you're seeing on screen now. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please consider giving a like, subscribe, and a comment. Let's get into the park. I think we'll start by removing this area here and just get ourselves a slightly nicer looking, or I suppose more realistic looking kind of coach park here. Let's start with maybe just some grey, basic grey sort of road here, and curve this off. Yeah, just curve it off into the trees and just imagine that the rest of the guest car park is off behind here, and we'll bring that up and around. Connect that there. Yeah, might not be the most spacious, but we are in economy mode and we can imagine that we are just a small park starting out. Let's get the guest path going along the side here. I think we'll add some railings. Polished wood railing. Yeah, that should be nice. And we'll change the path to this nice red with just a black railing. And then from here we can draw our guest path down the side here. Snap it there, and now we've got a few areas of it not quite getting there. Let's try that works. And then we'll fix this bit off here. Maybe we'll use a stamp for this little tiny piece here. Although I'm not sure. Maybe we'll do it from this side. Let's get that grey again. And get rid of the rails. Slight zigzag there, but that should be fine. Okay. Now we can get our path to the entrance, which hopefully should look nice and big and enticing. Let's get the path bigger. And switch to the line builder to avoid the fixed length. And maybe just go up to around here. And now we can pop our coaches here. So we'll have one facing this way. Will the guests be able to get out there? No. Okay, we'll swap that round. We'll face it this way instead. And then we can get another one in a different color. Let's change it to bright purple and gold, which will be this area of the park's color theme. So we can imagine that this is maybe a park specific coach. And let's get a couple more in here. And we've got a bit of dodgy parking there, but I think that makes it more realistic. Let's pop some trees just around the back. Maybe for here we'll just use the scenery brush. We'll take the intensity down a bit and the size. And just pop these around here. Maybe some rocks as well. And a few small plants too. We'll put the intensity up for this and maybe turn off avoid paths. just to get it a bit closer to the car park here. And for now, I think we can leave that as it is. Probably come back and add some more detail towards the end of the park, but we are playing in economy mode and I don't want to waste too much money making the car park look like a car park. We'll add a few more trees in over here. Just really kind of hide this area a bit from the other angles, and then we can start on our park entrance. Okay, let's have a look at some of these sort of building block blueprints and figure out how we want our entrance to look. Is this a 12? No, this is a 10. I think we'll take it up to a 12 and keep that red. Yep. And we'll go from here. And then bring up some of this ground. Just on the sides here. I think around here as well. Really kind of hide the park from the perspective of the car park. And let's bring this up a bit as well. And imagine ourselves as a guest. I think maybe a bit taller. And then we can add some rocks to make this a bit more natural. But let's get some buildings down. I wonder if we can maybe use this as an entrance. And maybe pop it here. And then we could do another on this side. Just pop that in there. And we can sort the terrain out afterwards. And then maybe we can link this up between the two. Or I think what might look a bit better actually is these kinds of towers. Yeah, let's try those. We can have this one facing in like this. And maybe edit that and move some of these. Could add a few more in later. And then maybe this shorter one with more flowers. Let's undo that terrain that we just did. It's causing more problems. And then let's try that again. Maybe facing this way. Then we can add the Four Kingdoms banner and link them somehow. Maybe with a few bits of wood. Let's try and get it lined up with the path a bit better. Something like that. I think for now we'll pop it here and try and clean these up, because I think this would be a much more interesting entrance than just these towers. Yeah, I think we'll go with these big guys. And maybe we could even have something in the middle here. Let's look in our facilities and get our entrances in so we know what we're working with. I think 2 should be enough while we're still a small park. And let's just move some of these bushes. Maybe over to this side, actually. And then we can move this just over to the side a small amount and lose our greenery. That's a shame. Let's try that again. And just deselect everything else. There we go. And if we tilt that slightly and maybe bring it down a bit more here. Maybe a bit more just to get that, the entrance bit there. And then we can add some things in here to cover up these. And with this, we'll do similar. Let's rotate it slightly. Although I do like the idea of the ivy facing outwards. Maybe we can try a different angle. Maybe they can both face forward, actually. Yeah, let's try that. And just delete some of these for now. Let's pop that there and get rid of some of our rockery. And then we can pop something in the middle here. What do we have? We could go for this and then have it be two arches instead of these windows. Let's see. Or is that a bit much? I think it could work. I'm just not sure how it would work with the kind of park sign. If we tuck that in here, or maybe directly on top, and then remove. Let's try. Let's see how it looks without this piece. I think that could look pretty cool. And then we can edit this. Let's remove these pieces. And then we can add the archway. I think this is plaster. Let's see. Yeah, plaster wall. So let's find our plaster and get an archway. Do we want an arch or do we want a doorway? I think an arch, definitely. The doorway is a little bit too cramped. There we go. We will also need one on the top, something on the top here. So if we go to our build here and get rid of the plaster, let's go into floors and maybe stone. And hopefully that looks okay. I think we'll have to bring these over as well. Just to get that equal on the other side. It's all slightly misaligned, which is fine, just a little bit more frustrating to deal with. That's okay. We can give that a small twist there. And I think we'll just shrink these down. And then we can... We can add maybe some black beaming on the... on the arch here. We'll just move this down slightly because it is poking through the ceiling a little. At the very least, we can bring some of the beams out here. Doesn't have to go over the entire arch. But I think that does look slightly better. And then we'll get these and duplicate them back. I'll duplicate them back to here, and again to here. I think that needs to go over slightly. And once more. There we go. And then what we can do is we can delete this section. And move a few of these over. And then we can duplicate all of this. And then hopefully we won't have to worry about this here, because we could bring all of this over. And just squeeze that in there. But not quite enough that it's popping through the wall there. And what we can do is we can get our beams from here and then copy those over to this side. And maybe even bring them out a little bit more on this side so it looks a bit more like these are supposed to be connected rather than just being attached. And we'll bring that down a little bit as well. Same for this side. And there we go. Hopefully that all looks good. Let's see if we can look at it from the guest's perspective. Yeah, I think that looks quite nice. I would be excited to go here. We need our name. So let's have a look and find that again. We had to move it earlier. And then we can have some beams coming out of here just to kind of secure it a bit. And maybe we just attach it like this. Okay, we've got our entrance done, and we can maybe open. I think we'll change this quickly to this path texture here. I actually think that looks nicer. I think it's this one, isn't it? Let's change that there. And then let's change, when we're inside the park, let's change it to this one, and maybe let's see how that looks. So we'll have a nice big kind of plaza entrance, I think, here. And let's switch to size 8. Maybe a fixed length for now. The square connection. And maybe we'll have like a kind of small garden center here. Like a central kind of piece. And go around in a square, perhaps? Something like this. Maybe a bit longer of a walk here. Slightly longer, and then we can put in some kind of guest information centers here and some staff rooms hidden around here. Let's connect that up with a size 12. And we'll paint this here. How are we doing? This entrance and this bit here cost $30,000. So we better start making some money. We'll start with a few shops so that everybody's got everything that they need. We're gonna need some food. We've got chief beef here, which we can maybe connect just here.
Tasty.
And let's get our electricity running as well. So we need a generator. And we also need, there we go. And we'll connect those two up. And get ourselves a small staff path here. And let's try and go as unnoticeable as possible. And then here we can have our information center. Let's find something we can use for that. Yeah, maybe this. And then maybe this one? They don't quite work together. Maybe we'll just do this and quickly change it to a storefront. And let's find our information center or service shop. Then what we can do is we'll just bring this down. 1 and then 2. And maybe we'll bring these along as well. Might be a bit too thick. I think that looks okay. And then we can get one of these and tuck that in there. Let's just move that down. Maybe move it there. And then we can get the wood there and just bring that up a bit. Let's take this down as well. Oh, and we'll put on there guest info. Guest information? Nope, too long. We'll just put services. There we go. And let's pop that there. Maybe bring it out a bit. And we'll change the color there to the purple. And let's just move that over slightly. Get it a bit more centered. And let's add something like this as well, maybe. And I think there's a clipboard as well, isn't there? Maybe we can just pop that on there, just as a bit of extra. We can't change the color of this. I think that's fine. It's a little color variation. And let's find as well the information sign and change that to kind of fit with the rest of it. Yeah, I think white on a black background will be good there. And let's open that up. We'll get our chief beef open as well. And I think let's move this down a bit as well. Same for this. In fact, I think we'll delete that. And let's find some chief beef bits to put on here. Chief beef. Do we want a chief beef awning? Maybe down the bottom here. Can definitely put a little sign here. And yeah, I think we'll just pop it here.
Tasty.
Let's just move that down and across a little bit. And because we've got this awning over there, I think we'll get rid of that as well and maybe find something different. Could go with this. Or... not really much else that we could use. Maybe this one. I think that could work. Yeah. And let's add a few tables in here as well. And let's connect the toilets now. There we go. And we'll open that up. And it's already open. So let's pop down a few tables here. Which kind shall we use? I think maybe definitely a wooden one, just for the theming of this area. Yeah, I think that one should be fine. Let's put a couple of those in there. And we'll need some bins as well. I think the Viking bin should be fine. Okay. I guess we should open the park. It may be open already. Yes. So we've spent still about 30,000. Let's get... There's a restaurant blueprint that I have. Maybe we can pop that here. Let's see how that looks from the guest perspective. Ah, first guests. Yeah, I think that looks quite good. Yeah, I think we'll put that there. But it's not quite on the right level, so we'll try that again. And I think just about there should be alright. And then we can move a few of these things up as they are not quite lining up properly. And then let's bring our paths together. Okay. And let's open this up. So we now have a restaurant. We've got chief beef, toilets, information. We need a staff room. And what could we use for a staff room? Let's check the facilities and see what sizes we have. I think we'll want at least a medium-sized staff room for now. And we'll want a mechanic workshop as well, because I'm not sure quite how it works, but it should be, I think, required for our research. We need to get ourselves a mechanic. And let's connect that up with our staff path, which is here. Take that down to a 4 and connect that in. Okay, now let's find some bits that we can use to kind of cover this up. Maybe this should be fine. If we turn it this way. Could just attach, actually. Let's add it. And pop that over the top. Yeah, we can do that. And then for the staff room, maybe we'll get 2 different ones, or maybe we'll just use this one. Just tuck that back, and then we will duplicate all of this. Or we can just find it again. Maybe a different one. And then we can twist that round. That works quite nicely. And we'll just edit this bit. Let's get ourselves one of these. And I think we'll just use this again. Slightly larger, but it's still just one. Nope. We'll have to get the thinner piece. There we go. And maybe we'll just take this from here, duplicate that over, pop that there, and do the same again here. And then just to decorate these up, we can get mechanic, workshop, and maybe a bit smaller actually. And then we can get our staff room one. Staff. There we go. And we can remove that. And duplicate these over as well. Okay, there we go. We are gonna need a ride as well. Let's see what we can find. Let's go with a custom one and kind of think about where we're gonna want our rides and our layout. For this human kingdom, the idea is kind of that it'll be split into 2 zones. So we'll have kind of like the main built up area over here, and then kind of like more of a woodland, slightly run down area over here. And so I think we'll start with the kind of built up area just over this side. And maybe get some varying terrain levels as well. Let's start bringing it up over here. Let's get a path going off this way with quite a reasonable width. We're going to want to keep them quite wide around this area because I'm assuming it will stay quite busy once we get more and more guests. So let's do that. And then we change this terrain style to ground. Hopefully it'll just, yeah, automatically adjust the ground. There we go. And then we can just bring that round. Let's actually just flatten to this level. Raise that slightly. There we go. Let's go for around there. And then we'll do something like that. Oh, has it done something strange with the stairs? They look quite funky from far away. What should we put up here? What flat ride shall we go for? Let's see how our research is getting on. Oh dear, I'm not sure actually how we get the research points. Do we need a different kind of staff? Do we need to have a ride? Maybe that's the issue. Let's put in this guy. Maybe kind of have him here so that when guests are sitting in the restaurant, they've got the view of this ride here. And I think we'll have it, the entrance here. And the exit here. Let's change the queue to this. And we'll get guests on here as quick as we can so that we can start making money and getting research points. I think we'll pop it. Let's change that to curve and bring that here. Then we can go for our regular path, take that down to 4, and I think we'll have that exit closer as well, so that we're not kind of blocking up this oncoming section here. And what length width was this? Yeah, let's go down to 7. And then connect that up. Where is our queue path? There we go. And connect that in there. Is that connecting properly? Yeah, I think so. We need power up here, so let's get our power distributor. And maybe we'll pop that just behind the restaurant somewhere. Maybe there, like that. And connect that over there. Now we can open this and call it something. We'll leave it as Pathos 1. Pathos 3? 3. We'll leave that as it is for now. And let's get ourselves another ride attendant. And let's change the colours to kind of match the theme a bit more of this area. Yeah, purple and yellow. We'll change these bits to this dark purple. And this blue to, maybe the white? And let's look at the patterns here. What do we have? We have... None of these are quite in the sort of fantasy theme that I'm looking for here. Maybe the Viking is probably the best one we can go for. I think we'll go with the Viking. Maybe change that bit to black. Yeah, something like that. And let's get some music here too. It's maybe a bit too relaxing for... No, I think that works. Let's go with that one. Okay, we have our first ride. Let's see how that looks from in here. Are we not open? What's going on here? Is it not connected properly? She seems like she's glitched out. So I think we will... Oh, let's see how that goes. Let's fast forward a bit. Nice. Hopefully now we can get some guests in here. Let's also get ourselves a drink shop, because I don't think we've got any drinks at the moment. How are we doing for money? We are eating into it. Hopefully we don't go bankrupt, but we've always got loans, so that should be okay. Got our gift shops here. Maybe here. Let's put them there and then get rid of all of this. And just flatten this down a bit. Then we should be able to connect our paths in here. And open these up. And then we can get our drink shop that we were just about to put down, but maybe do we have any drink shops? Don't think we do. That's okay. We can make one with the pieces that we have. Let's try. Maybe we could link it here. What do we think? I think that looks a little strange. Probably next to the chief beef might be best, actually. Let's turn that around here. And then link that on there. Maybe move it forward just a tad. And then we can grab these bits. If we can. And duplicate that over. And maybe take the grid size down so that it's just poking into this section here. Even smaller. Is that as good as we can get it? think that might be. And then we can maybe remove this altogether. Could just leave it like that. That should be fine. And then let's turn that into a drink shop. I think we'll move this over here if we're going to be doing that. Maybe pop that against this beam here. There we go. And edit this bit. Let's get rid of those. And maybe that ivy as well. Probably this grunge too. And oh, we'll pop that in there instead. And then we can grab all of this here and move that down. We are accidentally bringing the entire wall, but that's fine. Let's pop one of these in. Do we want gulpy? So delightful. Let's go for gulpy. It's got a few more different types of drinks in it. And then move these bits down. Why are we so much lower than the chief beef? Are we connected? Whoops. Alright, let's try that again. It was a gulpy, wasn't it? Let's try and get that as level as possible. Maybe chief beef is just a bit too high up. But that's fine. It gives a bit of variation, I think. Let's remove that. And that as well. In fact, let's move quite a bit of this away. Ah, that's why it doesn't look good. Let's bring this over then. And tuck that in. And then down a bit. Maybe down a tiny bit more. Then we can get these bits and move them over. We will need a gulpy sign. Maybe just there like that. And maybe a window. And find something that we can pop up the top here just to give it a bit of distinction. Maybe something like that, or maybe this one. Yeah, I think that one works nicely. I still feel like she's very low in the ground. Let's try and sort this out. We can just close off this end piece here. And I think we'll leave that. It's probably not going to be seen. Maybe we'll just add a window here. And now I'll bring this up a bit. Okay, that should be connected now. So we've got rides, we've got drinks, food, restaurant, a floating power distributor. We need... Let's see if we are now getting research points. We are not. Okay, we need to assign a mechanic to the mechanic workshop, which isn't open. That might be the problem. Okay, we have one person assigned. Should we get 2 of these then? Does that make it go quicker? It goes up quite quickly. I think we'll leave that and we'll see how it goes. Maybe then for now we can just add another small flat ride. Maybe teacups. Can have those way over here. Let's get the Viking themed one of this, and I think there is one. Blueprints, and we can just adjust that down to match this theme. I think that would look quite good. Let's bring the terrain out here. And get our queue set up. Just something like that. Maybe we'll take that over here. Just to give it a bit of space from this one. And then we can get our exit path in. And bring this over as well. I think it was 7. Let's go somewhere like that. And then link those up. Same for our queue. And we're out of power here. So we can add ourselves another little distributor. Can pop that down here where no one will see it. And hope it's level with the ground this time. Let's stick to surface. And connect that up here. We'll connect that through here as well. Just looks a bit better. Okay, let's open this up and adjust the theming, I suppose, to kind of match the area a bit more. Let's change our colors and we'll move away from that Viking knot this time. Let's go with something. Yeah, that'll do. Maybe the waves, actually. Let's go with the waves. I think if we keep these cups as they are, actually. There's something I think we could do with the shields. And then maybe we can use one of our blueprints here. Actually, let's attach scenery. Get rid of these bits. Can we add blueprints? Nah, we can't. I don't think we can add grid pieces either, so that wouldn't work. What we can do is something new. Probably the same sort of thing, actually. Let's go with this one. And shrink it down. Let's get our colors matching the rest of this area's theme. And let's have that yellow. We might want to pause in a minute. Let's change the shields to match this kind of area's, or this kingdom's colours. Because I think we can maybe put the shields on these sources and have the shield spin around. I think that would be quite cool. We'll make this one all yellow. And nice, that's adjusted all of those around there. And let's remove this piece. Make these purple and yellow as well. And I'm not sure if I've deleted something that this was attached to, but that looks a bit strange now. And get rid of that bit too. Let's do this centerpiece. Get that more central. And then we can add this roof. It's probably not going to look too different to how it was. Spin that around and pop that in so that it's lining up well. And then I think if we use the animatronic pieces, which are got a spinny piece. Where are our custom ones? Here we go. Let's get a rotational one here. And then we can get our shield. I've spelled shield wrong. Shield. Maybe this one? Yeah, we'll make that a lot bigger. And attach that on there. And if I'm right, I remember some wooden swords. Maybe we can just use these ones. And we'll duplicate that and spin that round 45, 45. Now hopefully that spins as well. Yeah. Awesome. And then we can put some shields on all of these too. Let's try and do a bird's eye view. I think that'll make this a bit easier. Let's make this one purple. And then hopefully we can just copy these over once they're in the right position. And they should all spin nicely once they've been moved down. Now we can hopefully grab all of these and move them down and hope that as many of them as possible are lined up nicely. And then the last one here. Let's bring that over, and that one needs to be a bit bigger as well. Oh, and now hopefully I've got these all on here correctly, and they should spin. they're going along with it. That's all we need. Now to duplicate these guys. Okay, so we've got all of those on there. Though I actually think we need a little bit less of this purple and yellow theme. Maybe red and black, and then we'll change this outer area. Actually, maybe if we just leave that as like a very dark purple. And that bit is a very dark kind of yellow. Our lights have gone black. I'm not sure which one is the lights. Does that link up with this one? Yes, it does. Ah, okay, so they match the colours that are here. Let's go for something like that then. And let's change this to... Let's change this to the Viking one, and then we will change this center area to... maybe a gold sort of braid. On a very dark red. I mean, that can work. We'll call this the shield spin, I think. And I know what we can replace these with, actually. Let's attach some scenery. Let's get rid of these. And find the mythology statue. There we go. Which arm do we want? Do we want this one? I think we'll have this one. And then we can give him his hand. I've got the wrong hand. That's why. There we go. And we can give him a trident. Oh, actually, let's go for a sword. I don't think a trident really fits the area here. Hopefully we can give him a sword. And then we can move that in and along. And hope that doesn't hit the center there. I think it might. Let's shrink it down a bit. And we'll rotate it a little bit this way as well. The only issue is the hilt coming out of his hand there in that strange way, but I think it should be fine if we make it a little bit larger. It's just a danger to anybody who's 9 feet tall. Yeah, that's fine. And then we can add more of those. But we'll do different things, different weapons. Because we've got quite a few. We've definitely got an axe. Let's pop that in. This is a very strong man holding a two-handed axe in one hand. And we'll get a spear. I think there's a spear. Yes, there is. Good. We'll try and latch that on. There we go. And then we'll take that down. And see how that's doing around here. Oh. Very child friendly. Very, very child friendly. Made this. Kind of lends itself to the spinning theme. Let's see how that tucks in. Yeah, I think that can definitely work as a nice base here. Let's make it slightly larger. And try and center it a little bit more. And then we'll grab all of this, including this, and we'll pull that up a bit. And we'll take that up once more and shrink that down. I think maybe let's bring this up a little bit more and maybe shrink it a tiny bit as well. Fingers crossed, it's all connecting well. Yep, that should do. And then under here, maybe we can just add, maybe this actually. Just try and center that. And let's pull that down a little bit and get ourselves a couple more. And hopefully they should spin with it too, even though they're not connecting to those sections. Nope. Should we change the color of this wood? Let's have a look. Maybe the purple? Although everything around it is purple. Let's go with the black. And then we can put something out here to sort of signify the, well, name it, I suppose. Let's press play. Rotate that around a little bit. And get a sign in here. Let's have a look at what we've got. Something for shields. I think something like this should work fine if we change it to our colors. Something like that. And then if we can find some sort of half circle of some kind. I'm not sure if there is one. What can we find? There is a watermelon. we change the colors, can we get that to be completely... Oh, almost. What's it like on the back? Let's pop that in and have a little peek at the back. No, okay. I think we'll just use this anyway. It's the only semicircle that I could see, at least. We could always just use a shield as well. I just thought we'd try and make the sign look a bit more kiddie. And then we can always, if those little bits are bothering me, which they are, those little bits popping over the edge, let's just duplicate this, shrink it down a bit, and then make a larger one here. And then we can pop that down. And let's get some text going. We'll give that a silver outer bit as well. And change that background color to maybe the red. Let's try it. So we've got shield, and now we just need spin. Maybe we'll do that in the lettering. What color should we go for? Black. The only issue is it's not a 5-letter word. But let's see anyway. Don't think it's going to. Where is our little eye? Well, we could always use one of these actually. And tiny dot. I was thinking for kind of like the center of the shield, it could be part of the eye. I'm sure we've got something more circular than this. But the eye being upside down. I suppose we could do it along the bottom. And then we can make it 5 characters by adding in an exclamation mark. That's what we want. I need to move these slightly. And maybe even shrink this down. I think we'll need to move this slightly. And then let's get the let's actually get a shield, I think. Let's get this looking a little bit better, and then we will, I think, change the color. This needs to be slightly larger. And I think this will do. Let's move that over here and get some sort of sign going on here. We will rotate this round the world axes. Oh dear. Our relativity has gone not good. Let's take that all the way up there. Yeah, I think that looks quite good. Maybe we can change this to something a bit brighter. Maybe duplicate and shrink just ever so slightly, and then bring those out. Doesn't quite line up properly, but we can always jiggle these around. And let's jiggle that across. There we go. We have our first named ride, and it is teacups. And now this guy's looking quite bare in comparison. How are we doing for money? We are making money, I think, which is good. And let's check out how we are doing with our research. Do we have enough? Oh, we do. We do have enough for our wooden coaster, which we will take off over this way just after we hire a janitor, because I don't think we have any yet. And we may also need to put down our bins and benches, because we have neglected that so far. We'll use some barrel bins. Let's get some barrels. There we go. And then we can make some barrel bins. Hopefully that's everything connected there, and we'll make that into a scenery group, and then we can pop some of those around. Definitely gonna want them outside the restaurant, the old grub, and then let's move that up to here. Let's pop some up here. Some benches. Maybe these ones? Or something a bit more plain. I don't want this to look too similar to the Viking things, so maybe just something like this, actually. Let's pop a couple here. And a couple here. Let's just have them all around this bit, actually. And then we'll definitely put something in here at a later time. One right near the exit in case anybody needs to have a sit down. And do we want a bit more scenery around here before we start delving into the rest? Maybe. Maybe we can do some kind of long street here. And I think I've got just the blueprint for that. I think this could look quite good here. I don't know why it's connected to the power grid. I've done something when I built it, but for now, we will just pretend that it's not doing that. And pop that in there. Let's connect it up and see if we can remove that. And then we can fix that blueprint. There we go. Now let's try and select all of this. And I'll just quickly save this as a blueprint. And that's all done. Then we can get some of our little bits here and use them to kind of make a street here, I suppose. Let's just grab those bits and move those over here. And then shrink this down a bit. Let's take that down. Something like that. And then we can... Should we use this bit again? Connect that into here like that. And maybe not, because I think that takes away from these towers here. Let's try something else. Let's go with this one. Slightly taller, and for a bit of variation, we'll move that forward. And then quickly patch up that empty area there. And then we can put that underneath. And find some other bits to go here. Got that one already. Maybe this one instead. Let's move that forward as well. And maybe the back of one of these. Then we can move all of these along slightly because they are not quite fitting. And let's see how that looks from our guest perspective. Once we just fill in this bit of path here. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty cute. And then once this is all filled in out here, I think this is going to look like a really nice little area. It'll probably be one of the most themed area. And then as we branch out, it'll be kind of more, I don't know, maybe more greenery, more rockery and stuff. We'll see how it goes. Just want to fill these bits in here. And then we'll get one more bit to go here. I think we will use this. Maybe turn it round to the back. Or maybe not, because we are pushing into our store there. We can use this. Yeah, we can use the back of this, or the side of this at least. And just get rid of these dragons. And I think there's another dragon on the back of this. Let's get rid of that. And then we'll use what's the back of this like? It's all windows. Okay. Maybe just this one then. And instead of moving this up, actually maybe we can just move the... Oh. We can just move arch up. Let's try and get it in line here. And then we can get all of this. And then we'll pull that right down. Right down to here and just push that down a bit. And then we can grab these bits and move those back. Give them a small rotate and push them over here a bit. And hopefully that is all good. How's this side looking? And then we can edit this and get rid of that. And that should be okay. And then we just lead our path here. And then we can move these both down slightly. And then we can take our windows up here. And maybe we'll add some flags up here as well. Let's go to create custom and have a look in the Viking theme. I'm pretty sure this is where all of the flags are, or at least a lot of them. And let's change this to our kingdom's colors, which we will be doing in the other of the 4 kingdoms as well, quite a lot. But I do, once we get out of this area, want to change the kind of color scheme up a bit. Let's just attach that on there. Oop. And should we maybe make 2 of these and bring them over to the sides? Okay, let's have a look at that from our guest perspective. In fact, let's go straight from the bus and see how it's coming along. It's looking good. I actually really love this front here. I think that looks really nice. Gonna need some bits here and some bits over here, but for now, this is looking very good. And the street. Oh yeah, that's cozy. That's nice. I really like that. And then you can hear the music in the background from the teacups. The guests walk very strangely sometimes. I'm not sure what's wrong with these people. They should probably have a first aid somewhere. Yeah, and then we've got 2 rides going on here. And we'll build that area up with, I think, some different blueprints at some point. Or maybe just greenery, kind of like a garden area. Maybe we'll just add a few more bits down here. And let's get that one, but turn it around because guests would have just walked through a very similar one. Should we tuck that in there like that? Or should we bring it out like this and make the path wider? Yeah, I think we'll make the path wider. And let's get maybe a tower on the end here. Oh, in fact, I think a nice place for this would be probably on either side of this. And then we could do some kind of fairy lights on either side of that. think that could look really, really nice. Let's see. Let's get rid of that ladder because that's going to be going into somewhere it shouldn't be. Let's get rid of that and find our fairy lights. I think that's slightly closer, so let's bring that in. Try and make it equal. Make it look like these are part of the building. And they should be here somewhere. There we go. Okay. How are we going to make this look natural? Seeing as some of the lights will probably be defying gravity. I was about to start singing Defying Gravity then, but I don't think that'll be appreciated. And we'll get one more linked up here. And twist that around. Hopefully. That's not popping out the back. Yeah, I think that looks really nice. Let's get those selected and duplicate that round. And should we have it be perfectly symmetrical, or should we maybe have one be lower? Where were we connected to on this one? We were connected to this area here. And then let's move that in slightly. And attach that there. Is that about right? Yeah, going into the void up there. Now let's see how that looks in the nighttime. Actually, let's see how it all looks in the nighttime. I do think these as blueprints are quite bright. I have been wondering whether to take that down a bit. But at least it shows guests where they're going. Oh yeah, that looks very nice. I love that. Amazing. We're gonna need some street lamps as well, but for now, I'm really loving this. Oh, I think we might have something a little bit strange there. Let's get back to daytime. Where is that little sneaky? Let's get rid of that. Okay. So we were adding some bits over here. To make this equal, I am going to pull this back slightly. And we will also get rid of this bit of path here. Okay, let's draw this in. Maybe we can branch out into this. I think that could look quite cool. Oh, they can't get out of the park fast enough there. And then we'll take that down. Try and keep it symmetrical. I think we're about here. Oh no, don't do that to me. That's fine. Let's move that all the way over there. And try again. And let's save this poor staff member. Hey. Nope, she's not having a good time. Maybe we'll just fire her. No. Move that over there. And try that again. There. There. Yay. It's all good. There we go. And our staff path Can we actually make these smaller than 4 meters? Because that would be really handy, actually. Staff path. And let's go draw tool and just really, really tuck that in. We don't want people knowing that we have staff. Yay, there we go. We could even pull this over a bit if we can delete. Let's try. We'll move that here and then get our staff path here. I feel like that might not be the kindest thing to do to them. So we can move this back slightly. Or we would if I could see the... There we go. And then we can connect this path up a bit more. Okay, now that we've got that done, I think instead of going straight over here for the roller coaster, let's just fill this area out. We won't worry about this this center area here just yet, because I think that's going to take a fair bit of time, because I don't have a blueprint for that. But we can definitely fill this section here out with some bits that hopefully will kind of cover up this area. Let's chuck that here. And this one here, maybe? Though it doesn't quite link onto that well, but that should be okay, actually. It doesn't look too bad. Let's pull that forward, maybe, and pop that there. I think a little box just snuck under here. Let's move that in slightly, because there's a bit of emptiness there. Let's delete that as well. And just to keep it looking different from some of the rest of the stuff, we should add a few changes here, I think. Let's get rid of this and bring in these instead. And then we can squeeze some windows in, maybe. Bring that down and go for our Viking windows. Let's go for... How much light do we have over here? Yeah, let's get a couple more light windows in here. Maybe we can tuck that right back, actually, and make this long rectangular window into 2 smaller windows instead. Let's try and line that up well, and take another one and put that over here. Which kind of makes the grunge obsolete, but that's fine. What could we put up there? Let's take the awning. Is this resizable? It is, that's good. Let's do a small one then. Just over the door like this. Maybe even smaller, actually. Tiny one. And then let's tuck that back a bit. And what can we do about these? Yeah, let's do that. Some crates. And let's rotate that one around. And then one more. It'd be good if we could have 4, but I think that will do instead. Or maybe we could actually get another one, hopefully. Actually, let's just duplicate it from there. And then we can make a cross. That's unique enough, I think. And then continue with our street here. We'll get rid of these barrels. I think actually we might make this path wider. Yeah, let's make this wider. How does it look over here? Let's go for something like this. And then as we go over this way, I do want to kind of make the buildings look a bit more worn down. As we're kind of entering, I guess, maybe a more dangerous area. So we'll have more of the adult rides over here. Let's change back to that. And then get our larger piece here. And we'll tuck that on the corner here, I think. And then we've got these two bits kind of connected. And we can maybe put some kind of small garden here. Let's just do a few more bits along here. And then we can start altering these to look a bit more run down. And get into our coaster. And then we've got our end piece here. And we'll bring that forward a bit. And over this side, maybe we can have... yeah, let's go for this piece. Tuck that back there. Hopefully there's no gap showing. And then maybe over here we can end this with one of the towers, which I can't see. Ah, here we go. Yeah, we can end it with a tower and maybe shrink it. And then take this down. Take it all the way down to that bit there. Just for some variation. Get rid of that. And this as well. Now we just need a bit of something on here. Maybe some old flags, smaller ones. Although we're going for a more run-down look here, actually. Maybe instead we will get as much of the kind of worn-down wall decorations as we can. Maybe we could even change the color of the walls. Okay, let's get that maybe a tad yellower. Yeah, maybe something like that. And then we'll try and do that with a few more of the houses along here as well. Maybe gradually, maybe suddenly, I'm not sure. Let's definitely get some grunge in here though. Let's get that everywhere. Let's go for something like that. With like a hanging. Let's get two of these actually. And then get a hanging window frame. And let's get those colors to something a bit more grungy, and we'll get one on this side as well. If there's anything else, yeah, maybe we can even have some boarded up houses. Let's get rid of that. And then we'll get that board up there. Let's get two of those. And move that one over a bit more. And let's get rid of these lights as well. And with this one, we'll get these walls kind of that dark yellow color as well. And let's start taking the purples down as well. Let's get them a bit more kind of worn. Oh, the same for the roof here. Should we do it more of a gradual fade? Maybe? And then we can even kind of have some of these roof bits falling off. And maybe this one doesn't even have one anymore. And this one can be overgrown. Let's get some ivy. Can maybe put that in there and then bring that up and forward a bit. There we go. Might not look completely right from there, but that's fine. Let's also get some of the Viking windows on here. Maybe these ones. And should we have another one that's been kind of overtaken by the ivy? Maybe some ruins. I think we've got some in the mythology scenery theme that hopefully could work here. If not, we can always use some other stones. Let's just change these colors to be a bit more in line with everything we've got here. And that should do. Let's go for a slightly darker here. Maybe slightly lighter. Let's just go with that. It's supposed to be marble, but I don't think it will notice too much. Cover up some of this. And what else can we add here to make it look a bit more abandoned? Maybe just some overgrowing shrubbery coming out from... Maybe some dead shrubbery. Yeah, that'll do. Let's add a bit more over here as well. And then it can start looking a lot more reclaimed over here. Let's continue the path on. Let's go for an 8. It's more aligned with it. How could we transition the path as well to kind of start looking a bit more like a forest path? Maybe starting here we can change the path colors. Much less saturation. Something like that. Let's try that. Yeah, that's looking better. And then let's make it even more kind of grim over here. I think that works quite nicely. Now, let's get some greenery going here. We kind of want more of a kind of Arctic sort of forest vibe, or northern forest. Pine forest is the word I was looking for. So let's get the pine forest started here. We can have a few odd buildings along here just to kind of ease with the transition. But I think this should be good. And kind of the story that I'm picturing here is this is kind of the, I guess, the forest that they've been deforesting for their kind of community. And I like the idea that they angered kind of a local kind of forest protector kind of thing which is the name of the coaster, which I created a blueprint for called the Lumberdrake. And the idea of the ride is that you are an adventurer from the local town being sent off to slay this Lumberdrake. Let's see how this looks from our guest perspective. Yeah, I think this is looking really cool. Should we add another one of these over here just to help ease with the transition, or should we leave it a bit more open? I think we'll leave it a bit more open. And we'll kind of leave this less floral, whereas the other section over here, I imagine we can have a lot more kind of nice flowery garden areas. Let's bring this path in. And maybe even start adding some greens here. Let's bring that up a bit more. Trying to keep a natural green. And let's add some more. Okay, I think that looks pretty cool. Now, let's see if we can afford the roller coaster blueprint. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to. Oh, $28,000. Oh, that's a big one. Maybe let's have it... Which way should we have it? Somewhere where we can sort of see it from the entrance, I think would be good. And maybe we'll have it up a bit. And we'll link that up. That was an older thing there. That'll be why I expected it to be more expensive. We need 46,000. Do we dip in and take a loan? Or do we hope that we will continue to make money? I think we take a loan. Let's go for... Okay, and let's find our coaster again. This one here. And try again. I think there would be a good spot. Okay, so I've moved it down and done some terrain editing. And I think it's in a pretty good position from kind of a guest perspective. You can come in and you can see the ride over there. So we'll get a few more indicators around here. We need some signs and stuff at some point. But for now, I think if we kind of build up this section of the park a bit and maybe open this up, run a few tests, and let's also have a look at some of the other blueprints that I kind of had in mind for this. I'm wondering whether to put this here or whether it'd be a bit too big. Let's see. We can see how small it can go. Not too small. How do we think? Do we think... I think it might be a bit too big for here. We could potentially have it around here somewhere, near the entrance. Again, might be a bit too big. How small can we get it? Let's try this one without the sign. We could maybe shrink this right down and then get rid of that terrifying eye there. Let's edit that. Oh, that still works. I think we could put it here. And then have some kind of wood behind it that it goes on. let's maybe grab a couple of these and just pop those down. Tuck that in here. And then grab all of these pieces together and maybe move them just a bit. Make that into a scenery group as well. Yeah, it might still be a bit too large. I could always have it here. Maybe even make it larger and put it here. Tuck it back a bit. And then move this one down. Maybe have it going at an angle. Ooh, or we could put it actually. Let's find that again. Maybe the one with the text on it. And pop that up here. I really do like that up there. Let's leave this here for now. We'll do it slightly around there. And then keep that up there. And something else that I thought could be quite cool is to actually have a wooden dragon that the ride sort of falls into. Which we could have right at the base of the first drop. I'm not sure how well that would work though. Or whether it's gonna line up properly. It looks like it lines up pretty well. And let's have a look. Is one coming down? We'll fast forward this. See if it hits any of the wood. Oh no, that's very low. Could potentially use that there. There's a few other drops though. Let's have a look. Got this one here. Oh, although they actually come from this side, so let's spin that around. And then what we'll do is we'll ride it and we'll see which one kind of works the best. Oh, and maybe here if we have the ground going over it. Let's see. Then it's almost like you're going into the belly of the dragon. I think that could be really cool. And then we can kind of add some cool theming down here if this one works best. Hopefully we've still got some tunnel above us. Yeah. Let's just bring that up a bit more. And then maybe flatten that down. And we can see how that looks. Do we have any other drops that might work very well for this? There's this drop here, but I think our dragon might be a bit too big for that. Unless we could add some extra. No, I think because it's going over this bit here, that's probably not the best place for it. So I think let's have a ride and we'll see what we think. Not many people riding it. That's a little bit worrying. I think we might need to entice guests over to this part of the park a bit more. Shall we zoom through the climb? I think we should. And then let's get rid of that. And see. Oh, I think that looks very cool for the first drop. Yeah, I quite like that. And let's see how it looks on the other drop. And we'll choose which one is best. I like that one. I definitely like going into the tunnel afterwards, but I think you get a bit more time to kind of take it in on the first drop. So we'll finish this ride up, and then I think we'll try and make that first drop look even cooler. And we'll get some different decorations to go around the rest of the ride. So that's the lumber drake. Okay, let's get rid of this. And we'll keep that tunnel for now. Maybe that could work still. And maybe add some tunnel here. Just to play with that illusion of being consumed by the lumber drake. Should we do it with... I think we should do it with wood. And let's maybe build the train up a little bit as well, just to make it a bit more... a bit darker. Can do something like that. And then push this down. And how far should we have the tunnel go? I think a short one here might be alright. Yeah, we'll definitely need some, maybe even a few building pieces in here. Let's see, let's grab some different bits of wood and see what we can make. Maybe something like this. Maybe we could make a let's see the size of the track. Yeah, we could make something kind of hexagonal. Let's see. And there we have a nice tunnel that hopefully we can use through here. Let's move that over. And pop that in here. We'll take the angle snap off and maybe bring it tighter to the track. Yeah, there we go. And then let's get another one. Give that a small rotation. Maybe a bit more. Let's leave it there, and then we'll do the next one as a bit more. Could even change the colors of these to make it a bit more interesting. Maybe if we take the snap off and just do a more gradual. There we go. How does that look? Looking good. We might just need to push this in a bit. Oh, I think that's a rock there. Let's get rid of that. And maybe just get rid of this one then. No, we'll move that forward. And over. And then maybe just get one more of these and turn that a bit. Just a bit to get this connecting. Something like that. I think that could look quite cool. We'll just need to remove these bits here. And then potentially we can change the color of some of these. Let's go with that one, and the last one. And change that to... Yeah, I think yellow could be cool. That matches our colours over there, so let's get that all quite yellow. Maybe a bit lighter. Something like that. And see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. And now we just need to patch this all up in here. Let's get the same piece of wood. And then just kind of build up a mouth interior. Okay, so we've got this now, which I think looks a lot better. I am wondering though if from up here, maybe a lighter contrast between, well, a bit more contrast between these two. So could potentially make all of this, is that all connected? Oh, that's very handy. We could potentially make that lighter just to kind of make the head stand out a bit, or maybe darker. Let's see. I think darker might be best for this bit. And then once we're in here, it's different. Let's bring this bit to a close as well quickly. Let's try and take that bit that way. And something like that. And I think what would also be very cool is maybe having some of these kind of fire pits. If we put them behind, we can get, hopefully, quite a good sort of fiery effect from the inside. Let's see how that looks. Let's try it at night. I think that looks quite cool at night. Doesn't quite come through in the most natural way, but I think that still looks, or will look, very, very cool coming through here. Okay, I think we'll leave that like that. Let's go back to daytime. And pop some rocks over this. I don't think using the terrain tool is going to work here, so let's duplicate that. And pop this over the top. Let's ride it. Let's see how it looks from a riding perspective, and whether this all needs to be a bit longer. Let's go to train 2 and let that go. Yeah, I think that needs to be a bit longer. And the lights as well, and then bring that round. What we can do is maybe extend the dragon a little, and then cover the rest of this with the rocks and such. Pull that over there. And lift it a bit. And let's turn that a bit. And we can have this bit be a kind of darker section of the tunnel. Face that down and pull it down. And fix it in here. And one more, I think, should be Or maybe we can take it right down to here, actually. Okay, we've covered it all up, and now let's get back to covering it even more with some nice big rocks. Let's bring that around here. Let's have that go around that way. And what we could do is we could add some grid walls or walls of some kind just to kind of bring this up. I think that might be more complicated than it needs to be. We're making profit. That's really good. Park rating and reputation going up as well. Hopefully we can pay that loan back without much problem. And let's go to our rock section and get some different ones. And this one's my favorite. I think we'll pop that in a few times. Okay, that took a lot longer than expected, and it's looking a little bit messy at the moment. So I think we'll add some trees around here just to get it looking a bit more natural. We'll change that to stick to surface, and maybe we should make the trees smaller just to give a bit of forced perspective so the dragon looks larger in comparison. I'm trying to avoid adding it to a scenery group, but I think we're gonna have to. Maybe some different kinds of shrubbery as well. Let's pop some bits up here. And some really large bushes like that. And should we extend the... No, I think that looks quite good actually. It maybe looks a bit more... I don't know, like the dragon's kind of slumbering under the mountain and it's just reached its mouth out to get a snack. I think we'll bring this over a little bit though. Let's push this up. Just give it a bit more of a kind of natural feeling rather than an artificial feeling. Okay. A few more trees. Let's do the random scale. Do a few more up here, and then maybe we can get some lighting on it for the night time. And a bit for this side too, and we'll add a few trees here too, as well. Just get this really nice and green. And as natural looking as possible, because I think it might look a little bit artificial at the moment. Okay, so from this angle, maybe we need a slight variation of trees. Let's try maybe a different color tree. Yeah, something like that. And perhaps even let's bring this back out this way so nobody knows where they're going while they're riding. It looks like you could quite easily go off into this area. And then we can add even more trees. Trees everywhere. And that is a forest. I think we should also change the color of the ride, maybe? I think we'll go with this kind of red that we've been using around. Maybe on the... Oh, it changes the color of the whole thing. Let's see how that looks from afar. Definitely makes it very eye-catching. I'm not sure if I'm 100% happy with that. Could go with a deeper brown, perhaps, and then have everything else be this kind of red. Maybe we could add our yellow as well. I think something like that would look quite nice. I think then let's go over to this section here and just get some greenery around here. I wonder if we might need to make our own brush here. Let's create a new one and add some of those nice, more kind of pine forest trees. We'll want all of those, and maybe these ones as well. Can we add the bushes as well, or will they be higher up? Because that could be quite useful. Just a full kind of forest brush. Let's see. Pine forest. Save that, and then they're not quite going down to the ground completely, which is interesting. Aligned surface, that might be useful. And maybe take down the intensity and up the size. We've only got a few of the bushes coming out, so I think we should add some more of those. It's kind of automatically clustering them together, that's quite nice. Okay, we'll save that, and I think we'll actually take the intensity up just a bit. Let's pop some more around here. And then perhaps in this section here we could have some kind of fire pit, perhaps. Let's get that down to a flat level. Let's actually have it a bit higher than that. Let's get it down level with this last bit of track here. Maybe we'll have it up just in this circle. And then figure out what we can do to make this kind of unique. Let's look at some of the terrain paint. Maybe go with a darker rock. And let's move that out just a bit. And I've not actually looked at the special effect fires. Let's see what they're like. Ooh. That's actually much better. I probably could have used that on the Drake, but we have what we have now. We can definitely do some fire, but I think maybe we need something here to burn. Should we go for coals, or do we have any dead trees? That would be quite cool. few dead trees, but not very large ones. Or are they pieces that we can add together? I think that might be the case. Let's make that extra large and then get some smaller pieces in here. And then we can have kind of a forest area that's on fire, which could be pretty cool. Might look a bit strange because there's not many options to work with, but that's fine. We could also use some of the new custom rocks to get some coals going. Should we quickly make a brush? I think that might be easier. Holes. And then grab our custom rocks. Now let's try that. And then we can mass select them and... Oh, they're already black. That's good. Let's bring that size down and do a larger pile in the center. I don't know if this is going to look good, but it's worth trying. Let's get a few more of those dead trees and see if there's anything else we can use. Any other kind of dead shrubbery. Can we change the color of these? That could be good. No. And no dead looking shrubbery. That's... Oh, that could work. Actually, that can work as leaves on a tree as well. Let's get one more piece down here. Okay, let's find those fires again. Is that under scenery, special effects? And then we've got our big fire. Let's put that down here in all of this. And maybe we can put a few axes and shields on the ground here. In here, let's just search axe. And just have them laying here in the flames. The heroes who have tried to vanquish the Drake but have failed. Swords as well. And a few shields, and we'll keep those in the theme of the rest of the village, which is that purple and I think that yellow. And we'll have that leaning up against the coal there. I think that looks quite cool. Maybe we could also add a few of these a bit more around the edges and align them to the surface. Maybe have a few up here too. Let's take the intensity down for now. I think we're a little bit too close together. Let's just delete that one. And maybe get one more kind of large tree going on here. just get a small fire. Should we continue this flamey area up this way? Maybe? Or should we go for something else here? I think let's go for something else. Kind of keep it a bit more varied. Maybe just wood. Wood everywhere. And we can use the same wood that made the head of the lumberdrake. And then we can just add this around here. I don't think we can change the color of this one. That's fine. I'm not sure if this looks too amazing, but I think we can probably spruce it up with some lighting and some more greenery. It's usually the answer to everything. Just a bit of greenery and lighting. Or maybe something like this. This bit of ship could look quite cool if we bring it around like that. Let's adjust the terrain slightly. Do something like that, and then add in our coals. And maybe have half of this be kind of the more darker terrain color, and the rest of it be kind of more green. Fade into this nice green. Yeah, I think we can leave that as it is and maybe add some lanterns or something. I think for the bits that go underneath, we'll probably use those tunnel pieces that we made for the dragon. So let's grab one of those. Hopefully we can just grab a single one, and I haven't merged them all together. We'll duplicate that over here and get rid of those. Get rid of those, and then we can just move this around where we need it. I think we'll put one here. So maybe something there, and then another one. Just twist that slightly. Something like that. This might be too low. Let's fast forward this and see a train go through. Where did that train go? Oh. Did we catch it? We did. Oh, that's fine. That works perfectly. And then perhaps we could add some of those nice big chunky bits of wood. Maybe somewhere like... maybe just around the edges. Then from this perspective, it doesn't look too silly. Then we can do two more, maybe using these big logs, and pop that in there, like maybe on the end there, like that. And then we can shrink it down and duplicate that up a couple of times. Oh. Let's try that again, and all the way up. And then we'll grab both pieces and bring those over. Then we can pop this on the bottom. And rotate it around. This looks very messy, but hopefully from the ride it looks absolutely fine. And I think that's how it works in real theme parks too. At least that's what I'll tell myself to justify the imperfections. And we'll bring one of these over here. And know it probably won't be seen, but we should have that touch the floor. Perhaps a bit strange, but it works, and I think it looks better than the basic wooden structures. Okay, we can try that in a few more places. I think. Did we leave one over there? Nope. We'll duplicate it from here. There's quite a few spots where it's going through areas. So maybe we won't use this in all of them. It might get a bit repetitive. Let's bring that forward. Or what would maybe make it better actually is just giving the whole thing a border. So let's move that and fix that up a bit. So we will duplicate that and grab... What kind of wood should we use? Oh, this would take a while, but we could do kind of a tiny jagged teeth situation. At least on a few of them. Let's see how that looks. So I don't think that looks too great from the front, but maybe coming through and into that could be quite cool. And we could always cover up these bits here. Can we change the color of this? I think we can. No, it's a sign. That's fine. Yeah, I think we'll stick with this one. So we've got this. It's kind of a shabby put together kind of thing. But I think it can work for a few of the tunnels. If we just duplicate that and then twist by 45 and then add that onto the end. Actually, let's bring it over here and remove those pieces. Then we can just move that back into place. And maybe we'll change the color of this one to a dark red. And then we can add that all as a nice scenery group. I think it might already be one scenery group, yep. And let's try this out. Where can we put this? We can put this here. Let's get rid of our angle snapping. Hopefully it'll go in here without disturbing the other piece of track. Let's tuck it down a bit more. I think if we try and move the ground up here to try and get rid of this excess wood that's coming over, hopefully that should work. No? That's a shame. Maybe we can do something with the ride itself. Let's change it to testing and just ever so slightly pull this over and hope it doesn't affect the coaster too much. Let's place that down a bit, somewhere like that, and get a duplicate. Give that a twist. Maybe shrink it. I need to bring that right up here. That shouldn't be too big. Maybe actually works okay. We'll give it a pause when it gets here and have a look at the coaster itself. I think that went through okay. Don't think there was any... Yeah, there's plenty of space. I think that looks pretty cool. And then we can do some terrain cheating. So with the terrain built up, this wooden structure has actually gone over and I'm wondering what we can do about this side here. Just after we add a bit of greenery in here. Maybe even a bit of ivy might look good. Let's have some strings of ivy going up. And maybe some bushes over this side as well. I think that looks quite nice. Let's get a few more rocks in here. Let's go temperate and just get a few of these down here and push that down. And maybe if we got a larger bush we can use, maybe something like this. Let's align to surface and kind of push that back in. Get a little duplicate stuck in there. It's starting to come together a bit, I think. I'm going to bring the ground up underneath here as well. And just chuck a few more bushes up here. Just for a bit of greenery. And then for this section here, let's pull some of this back. And we'll make another tunnel here. And I think I will skip ahead and do those, and then we can ride it and see how it looks. Okay, so I added a few extra bits, and I think it's at a point where I'm quite happy with it. So we'll wait for some guests to get on here and save these guys who are a bit trapped. Not sure why they're stuck there. Let's fast forward a bit. We've got a lot more guests coming in. I'm assuming because the roller coaster is open. And there they go. Oh, still speeding. Okay, this should be our final ride on the Lumberdrake. Although I will add some lighting along here later. Let's speed this bit up a bit. And have a look. I think that looks a lot better with all the greenery. It feels very fast. That bit there feels a little bit snappy actually. I might have to just adjust that, but I think I'm pretty happy with it and how it's turned out. And then we come into the end here. Might move the axe slightly, it's a bit threatening. Let's tuck that in a bit. We just pull the whole lot of them over. There we go. And then while we're here and we remember, let's quickly just smooth that last bit out. I'm not sure what happened there. And then we'll have to get that tested again and hopefully it's all good. So that's the ride done. We might just need to add a little bit of something around here for the queue. And I think because we've got this up here, I don't think we'll use this. Let's remove a couple of these. Let's see what we can do. Just a nice kind of simple queue here. Let's take that out and then tuck that in. We could start adding some of the red and yellow early. And then maybe we'll build a wall or a fence along here. Let's use this same piece, shrink it right down, and then just bring that up, and we'll pop something on top and maybe in between, just to make it a bit more of a fence rather than just a bunch of wood. Something on the bottom, maybe some rocks. No, I think we'll keep it like this. Keep that lumber theme. And get rid of the angle snap. Just shrink that down a bit. Let's make that into a scenery group as well. And duplicate that over. Okay, that's all finished testing. I think it went down a little bit in excitement, but that's okay. We're happy with that. It's not supposed to be the most extreme coaster, but I think we're going to remove that piece and twist that one around instead. Okay, that's the queue all done. It's fairly simple. But I am wondering how to kind of point to it, whether to put like a lumberjack sign over the top or let's move those up a bit. I think I meant to do that earlier. Luckily they are grouped, so that's handy. Whether we put like a lumberjack sign here or if we just put like a queue here sign. I think what we'll do here is we'll remove that one and we'll get the larger one in its place. Just to kind of signal the queue beginning here. And then let's bring that one up as well. And maybe get some kind of sign. Let's just see the guest height. Let's keep someone here so we have an idea. I think that one could work. And if we change that to something kind of darker. Give that a small twist and pull that over. Shall we just write Q here? It feels a bit not great. Let's try with the text. Just a big Q for the Q. I'm very tempted to leave that there. I think I will for now, and then one day we'll come back to it. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the ride. I think that's pretty much done. I was thinking while making the queue if we had like a picnic area here, as we're in like a kind of woodland setting. It seems like a nice idea. And we also have, I think, the invisible path option. So we can actually make a real kind of picnic area here, which is nice. And then we can stick that there. And add some tables. For our picnic area, I think we'll use the round one. And let's change these to our current kingdom's colors. Maybe keep it brown, actually. And maybe theme it a bit more with the lumberdrake as we're in that area. So we'll do a nice amount of picnic tables here. And then maybe just a small couple of vending machines. Should we add some umbrellas? I think we probably should. Okay, I'm just gonna grab these guys and reset them. Yep, that seemed to do the trick. And do we have more of those barrel bins? I think we'll have to take the scenery group and just pop those around. Can we change the color of the barrel? We can. Might be a bit too much red and yellow everywhere. Yeah, I think we'll keep that as a plain barrel. We'll put another bin over here. And then add our vending machines, which should be, let's go create custom. We'll get a pip shop. And a So Delightful. No? And then do we have food ones? Vegan feels kind of fitting here, being in the sort of woodland area. And then we can get some scenery going here, make this look kind of nice. Could just use something simple like this. Just do 2 of those next to each other. And then we could cover them, but I feel like in a regular park, you would kind of keep them open for the advertising. So maybe we'll just do a bit of wood along the bottom in the theme of everything else. Yeah, let's use this. Take that along and push that down. The only issue is the top. So maybe we can do this, get our angle snap. 45 degrees. And then just pop that on the top. Like that. And we can also do it on the back. And I think that should be hopefully a bit easier. Let's get rid of the angle snap. And just push that in there. And put that snap back on. No, I think we'll leave it that way actually. And let's get one more. Just down below. And leave that maybe as it is. Let's grab one more of these and put it on the side here. Let's bring that out. And let's bring that back a bit as well. Just tuck that in. And make sure that these are all open. Okay, that's a nice little picnic area. Let's change a few of these. And then we can add a bit of greenery here as well. Just pop a few bits down here. Kind of make it feel a bit more enclosed. And just throw a few of these out. Maybe we could add a bit of soil here just to show some walking areas. It sounds like clapping. Let's take the intensity up a bit. And let's take the intensity up a lot and get a nice, very sort of firm footpath here. There we go. We'll just bring this a bit more natural and get a few bits of greenery here too. I think we should remove that one actually, so when people come around this corner they can see where they need to go. So we'll just do a few bushes here and we'll get them aligning to the surface. Just pop a few balloons. Okay, I'm quite happy with this. And we can use some of the space here, maybe get another ride in here. Maybe 2 rides for this kind of forest themed area. And we should also think about the pathing to the next kingdoms as well. So we've got this kingdom taking up a decent chunk of land. We'll probably expand quite a lot around here. For now, I'm wondering what sort of ride would suit this theme. Maybe a drop tower. Kind of like a, you know, treetop drop tower. Let's see, do we have our drop tower available yet? Yes. That could definitely work. I think that is a pretty good place for this to be. Then we can kind of get the colours a bit more foresty. And then let's connect those paths up because we can get this open quite quickly. We'll change this to, yeah, the more foresty kind of path. And we'll bring that over here. And then we'll get our queue going. Let's leave railing for now. And we'll just have a stone path. Just like that, and then around and down here. Then we can get this open, and I guess just call it treetop. We could maybe go for something like a tree house or something similar. Let's see what ideas come to mind. Maybe we could use something like this just to get a start going. And then twist that around. Then we can pop that in there nice and easy. And just fill up these sections here with, I'm not sure what else. Let's try maybe something like this in there, and then enlarge that. We can take that all the way up there. We put the exit just there like that. That closes over a bit better. And then we can grab all of these bits and use them around here. And then we can move the entrance over just a bit and pop that just there once we've removed our path. And we'll just pop that right there. And then get this going so that we've got some extra income coming in. For the corners here, we could just duplicate this over and hope that that looks decent enough. Do the same over here. I think it looks okay. Might need to move these bits back a bit though. Somewhere like there. It's not quite poking through anymore. And then if we do maybe slightly similar on this side, just bring this down a tiny bit. And let's see how that looks with a small duplicate over. I think it looks okay. Let's add something here on these doors as well, I think, just to give it a bit more of a polished look. Let's see what else we can find. Maybe just something like this. I think that could work quite nicely. And let's get another one over to the side here. I think let's tuck that bit in as well. Yeah, I think that looks quite nice. Maybe a bit extreme over this side, but I'm not too upset about that. Let's get that over here as well. And try and line that up a bit better this side. There we go. I think as well, let's just move this tree away. What we can do here is maybe just bring these in to close up this gap here and see how that looks from the inside, from our rider perspective. Maybe we could grab those over again and twist them round and push them in. In fact, we could have this whole section flipped around because it shouldn't be seen too much from the other perspective. Just give a bit more texture on the inside. Maybe we can do that with all of these, actually. Let's pop that in and shrink it down somewhere like that, and then we can just adjust that over. And I think we'll leave these bits here as well. And we'll do the same here. But let's get a slightly different, maybe, entrance going on. We could have something like this. And just bring that down. Line it up with the top there and maybe push it in slightly. And then we can duplicate that and flip that all the way around and pull that over here. And then we can duplicate these. Let's get those bits as well. And flip these around. And then we'll just get the back bit done as well. Let's move these guys away a bit. Okay, now that we've got the base done, I think we should actually turn it around and have the entrance facing the path. And then we've got a nice place for a sign. I also think we should probably push it back a bit and raise it up. Give that extra height when you're riding it. And what we can do is we can extend this bit of terrain to the base here. Then we can tuck that down just here. So we've got our entrance here. Let's change the path style. And I think if we do something like that, maybe even bring this main path out a bit and have these connect up with a bit more space around here. Let's finish this queue off. And then we can connect up our exit paths just down here. And then smooth out these little edges here. Then we just remove these bits of greenery that we've got set up around here and pop those elsewhere. Probably around here. I think if we bring this bit of path out here, we can have a nice little seating area. Let's pop that up here. And move these just back a bit. Still along the path, but not blocking its way. And then we can just add a bit more pathway down here. And there we go. And then we can just add a few more bits to the ride. I think if we use that nice Viking roof and pop that on the very top. And hopefully that's not attached to any of the moving parts. We'll bring that over. So a kind of treetop house. And then we can add a base to this. And then we pop that there. And let's change the color of this to our purple, but go with kind of a... Actually, let's go with a green for this. Let's give it a bit more of a distinct color from the rest. It really does tower above everything over there. We can maybe add a few flags up here. In fact, let's keep that scenery theme. Maybe something like this. It's a little bit more kind of haggard, which is the idea for the area. So we could do something like that and just add it all around the sides here. Let's get one more there and one more over here. What else could we add to kind of make this a bit more unique? Something on here. Definitely. Let's see what we can find. But firstly, a window up here would be good. Let's add a few really small ones. Let's do something like this. 1, 2, and 3. And maybe we make the color brown as we get further up. Yeah, maybe something like that. And then this top bit as well, I think needs to change. Maybe something like that. And we can decorate this bit as well. So we'll pause this here and attach some scenery. Let's see what we've got. Perhaps something simple like this. And we can duplicate that down and around as well. Just so we have this view from the bottom as well. That looks pretty cool. And then what we can do is we can add something on the side here, just to give it a bit more liveliness, perspective. And what do we have? We've got the Viking trims. This one's interesting. It does add a nice bit of texture. And then if we change the center one to a nice green, and maybe the outer one to something lighter, then we can get this middle one to be darker. Maybe a dark red, that could look quite cool. Let's try that. Push that back. What do we think from far away? I think that looks pretty cool. So let's select these bits and get those duplicated around. And I think that looks quite cool, and it's not attached. Let's see if we can attach that. So we've got our treetop coaster, treetop drop tower, and we can now get a nice queue going. Maybe we can use something like this and just flip that up. Pull it up a bit. And let's duplicate to get that a bit higher. And add something on the end. And then we can get this roof here and twist that up and pull that up and across. And if we push that back to around about here, we can then pull that back a couple of times and twist that round so we can get ourselves a nice tiered bit of roofing here. I think something like that looks quite nice, and we can group that all together as a scenery group to make things a bit easier. And I think we'll also change the color of these Celtic knots on the side here to maybe a yellow, maybe red. Maybe green. Let's go with yellow. And then hope that we can get a nice tiered path here. Maybe something like this instead could look a bit better. Let's try and get it going with the flow of the stairs a bit more. And then we can duplicate that right over to the other side. And hope that that's covering the... Yes, it is. And then we can do something like this. Let's bring these two in. And then, hopefully, we should be able to bring those up and just attach those on here. Let's pull them over slightly. Make them a bit larger just so they attach to that roof there. And from here, if we just grab the bits we need and duplicate those up. And then I think if we remove these bits, I don't think they're really necessary. And then move those down to around about there. And then we can bring these back all the way up to this turn here. And let's just move that over slightly. These aren't quite lining up right. I think we'll just move the roofs here. I think we should shrink this down as well a bit. And then let's bring one more forward. And maybe just for this this way here, we could get some extra wood down along the sides of the paths here. What piece should we use? Maybe something like this. Let's just turn that off. Pull that down a bit and rotate that down. and maybe shrink it a little, and then just pull that up here. I think shrink a bit more as well. And then just duplicate those along, rotating where we need to. And then we could get rid of the curb on the path as well. And hopefully we can just get these and duplicate them over. There is a slight curve, but I think we should be able to mitigate that by just twisting that round. And then tucking it a little bit like this. And just push that in a little bit more. Let's see if we can get rid of the curb on the path on our cues. And that's all looking a lot better. Now it's just for this area out here. And we'll get a nice entrance sign going on here as well. We could go with some simple cobblestoning, or we could use wood, but I think we've got enough kind of wood structure going on up here. I think we could use this and change a few of these rocks to be just a tad more green. Try and get a bit of a mossy kind of look to them. Something a bit like the rest of the ground here. And then we'll just make a nice path around here. And let's duplicate this bit and bring that over here. Nice and easy. And just plop that down. And then let's just finish this corner off here. Try and get a nice curve round, even though we don't really have any curved versions of this. And then I think we'll do wood for this kind of structure here. In fact, I feel like all of this could be a bit taller, or maybe have some kind of wooden fences going along it. Let's bring that over a bit. We've got people clipping into it. And hopefully this part here is good. Yeah. Okay, let's try and add something to this. Let's have a look at fences. We could use something like this. Just pop that down in there. I think that could look quite nice. Maybe this one. I think we'll use this one. All right, let's get that going along. I think we'll make it a bit bigger. And then if we just delete all of these, we could maybe make this look a little bit better, and then we'll rebuild all of this with the new fence type. Let's just center that up a bit. And then we could maybe put some beams on either side. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, I think if we just use this piece that we've got going on in the rest of this, maybe shrink it down. And then tuck that in to here so we've not got any clipping. Let me see from the back. That's all looking good. And we'll get one more just over here. In fact, let's just leave this one end and then we won't have any duplicates. And change that to... maybe let's go for a red here. And then if we save all of these together as a nice little scenery group, we can rebuild this queue. Maybe here we can switch up the top pieces to make them taller and line up nicely with everything up here. And let's have a look. What should we use for this area? Maybe just something like this. And we could put this around about here. Then tuck that back. And maybe bring this forward. And just a little bit there with that one. A little bit forward again there, and then we can get another one of these and have that just around there. Maybe we'll be able to get away with bringing these up as well. And then I think this needs to be a little bit bigger. And then we'll pull that over. Just a smidge. And how does that look from far? Hopefully we can get that duplicated out twice. And that will look quite good. Which I think looks reasonably nice. We could maybe move these two pieces down on here just to have that stacking effect. And let's see how that's looking from gas perspective. I think that's all looking quite nice. I quite like the queue here. I've got this little bit here which we can cover up. Yeah, it's quite nice. Fairly simple. Let's make a nice sign here for our treetop ride. I wonder whether we use this western grid piece here. I think that could look quite cool. And then we can add some nice pillars either side of it. Maybe these Viking pieces. They could be quite cool. And then we could get another one of these and duplicate it around. Let's see. Let's take the grid size down and the grid height. Flip that around. And that should hopefully suit us quite well. If we shrink this a bit and duplicate it up. Maybe something like that. And then we can bring that over. Just there. Or maybe we'll take it right to the edge. I think that would look better. Somewhere just there like that. And then we could maybe pop some ends to this. Some bottoms. Not sure which ones we could use. Maybe stone. I think stone could work. It goes with the rest of the queue here. And let's do that again over here. Just duplicate that and get a stone in here. The only issue with using this grid piece is that we're actually quite limited by it. I think we could potentially use... Let's try something else. Perhaps we could use this instead. Let's see. Let's bring that over. And get a few duplicates going here. Maybe with a little gap between them. Let's take away the angle snap. Only a tiny gap there. And then I did have a wonder whether we might be able to use this in our name. But let's for now get the letters and find our T. Let's keep them large for now, and then we can resize them all. Then we can select these all and shrink them down to the size of the sign. And what color should we go for? Maybe green. We could go for both greens. Maybe get the top in a different color. Treetop. Let's twist that round a bit. And get those leaf signs that I believe we have. I wonder if it's a leaf or a petal. No. Let's have a look. And we found the leaves. We'll put 2 of these just here. And then maybe some branches just here. Or perhaps a simple tree running through here. I think that looks quite nice. And then maybe we can get a back layer here in black just to embolden the letters a bit. And I think that's all good. I think we should put something here just to give it a bit of life. Maybe we could add some of our roots going across again. Maybe we'll flip it around so it doesn't completely match the one on the sign there. Maybe bring that down and perhaps get a duplicate and bring that around as well. Let's see how that looks. I'm not sure about this. Maybe we can make these a bit darker just to match the rest of the wood here. Or even a kind of green. That kind of works. Let's get another one. Let's flip that all the way around. Yeah, and then I think for now we'll leave that. Maybe make these slightly darker green. Just to make it a little bit less kind of child-friendly. Because I don't think this is a child-friendly ride. And then let's bolden this green up a bit. Maybe a bit more saturation. And same for the red. Let's saturate that a bit more. Okay. I think that's it for the... Got stuck in the tree there. I think that's it for the ride entrance and kind of this area here. Maybe a few more bits in here. Some of these leaves and bits like that. So let's quickly attach some scenery here. Maybe just some more of these roots and vines. Let's try and get that the same color. Maybe this color here. And then let's just get these vines everywhere. And we can get another one of these going just around. And then this way. And we'll just tuck that down there. And we can do the same over here. Let's get that in there. And then let's duplicate that over to the other side as well. And let's get a bit more moss around. A bit of moss and greenery. And tuck that right back. And then let's see what we can do about a bit of greenery. Nothing too crazy. We don't want to overgrow the place. Something that just makes you think of trees. Perhaps just a bit in the corner here. And a bit over here. Let's get it in all of the corners. Maybe have it growing around here a bit. And a little bit here too. And we'll need something on this wall as well. Let's have a little look. Let's just do a million tangled vines. Then we can duplicate those around. And I think that looks quite cool. Let's get one more here because we've missed this guy. And that's just like this. Just gives these guys a little something to look at on this wall. Then I think we'll call that finished. And just finish off our exit queue here. Maybe the exit queue can be just plain stone. I think that might be one of our best bets. Let's just flatten this out a bit. And there we have a little stone exit. And I think we can kind of separate these a bit by adding in some greenery. Adding in some more trees to our treetop ride. I think this one's a little bit too high. And let's see what other trees we can get. Or we can just keep to the trees of the area. Let's shrink that right down. And we can align our shrubbery to the surface. Really keep that forest vibe going around here. I don't think for the park we'll have any pathway going this way. Although we may potentially need to at some point as we expand. But I'm sure we can figure that out and remove the trees as needed. I wonder whether to leave this place. Could maybe fill that in with one more rundown house. And we'll make this even grayer. Maybe even a little green. Yeah, I like that. And then let's just duplicate this side over. We don't need that. Just duplicate that round and pop that in there. We'll get rid of our shiny windows. And then we can get another load of shrubbery. Just really, really hammer in that overgrown feeling. And I think this area is really starting to come together. Although I'm not 100% sure about this green here. I think now that the lighting is different, it might be a bit too minty. Perhaps if we added some ivy to these stones as well. Let's have a look. We could have it all between the cracks here. And try and just get this kind of spattered around. Give a bit of variation between the stones. And while we're here, maybe as well we could put some ivy on this building. Let's get a bit going up one side. And perhaps a bit coming up over here. Let's find our ivy. Let's put some going up the side here. And let's just tuck that down a bit. And bring these bits in as well. So we've got a lot of trees added, but I am thinking we probably should add some colour and some flowers. So maybe kind of a bluebell forest would be nice. So let's just pop some of these down. Let's get some slightly smaller ones, or maybe longer ones here. Let's try some red ones. And maybe even replace some of these bushes entirely with some patches of flowers. I think just with that extra bit of purple, this is looking a lot nicer. Definitely overgrown. And I think I'm quite happy with it. Let's just bring that down a bit. And look over at the lumberdrake. I think that's got enough greenery. We don't want to overdo it. Maybe just a bit round here. But we'll try and use our flowers here as much as we can. And maybe here we'll put a rock. Let's get our temperate rocks. And let's get our surface alignment off here. And we can just edge this path. And I think we should change this. Let's get rid of that. And we'll just put lumberdrake here in regular text, I think. And we can add our the from the top. Let's see if I've most likely tried this already, but let's see if we can fit the text of the lumberdrake on here. I don't have it separate. Let's see if we can. Get it from here. Is that one scenery group together? Ah, brilliant. Let's take that and shrink it as far as we can. I think that might be as far as we can go. We might just have to be okay with putting that there and maybe removing it from up here. I do like it being there. Maybe we can just have it in both sections. And we can duplicate that across. And just tuck that down here. And maybe take this one up so it looks like the ropes are tying it in here. And then we can get both of these and bring them down to this end. And just tuck that down there, like so. I think we can leave, let's leave that there for now, and we'll see just how we feel about it as time goes on. If I remember rightly, the dragon was too large. We can get it smaller though. We could do a version of the dragon. Remove this. Remove that. And that. And then just tuck this back in. Let's see how that looks from down here. I think we'll see how we feel about this as time goes on. But so far, I think I'm quite happy with this area. Maybe just a few more trees just behind these buildings. And just about there. Then we've got a very, very, very forested area over here. Now, let's finish off some of the last touches of the rest of the park. We need our centerpiece here, and probably just a few nice flowery bushes around here. So let's start with the centerpiece here. Maybe some nice big blocks of marble. Let's grab all of those and kind of center them out. Grab them again. And we could potentially have it going further long ways than it does wide. Something like that. We could go with a very simple fountain as well. Let's get all of this as a scenery group. And bring that all down. Quite low, maybe something like that. Let's duplicate it to something like that. And we could pop in... I don't want to take up too much of this here, so I think a fountain might be the best idea for this. Could bring it down to here and size it up a bit. But just push it down around about there. It's very dark water, most likely because we have our ground underneath it. So let's push that down. I think actually it's best if this stays as the kind of the first thing we see, and perhaps we can instead have a pathway going through the middle here. And let's get the color palette of this and get our classic path going. Let's try and connect that as centrally as we can. And then we can have some flower beds either side here. In fact, let's start this again. And let's flatten this all down. And bring these benches over slightly. So let's get that marble again. Maybe we could use this piece instead. I think that fits a lot nicer. And then we can pop that along here. And just grab this here and pop one over there. Then we can build up a nice flower bed here. Let's see what we've got. We can just do some nice pink on the ends. And then move into a purple. Maybe with some darker leaves. Let's just change that color there. And get those leaves back to a nice green. Maybe for the center, we could try something like that. Maybe tiger lily-esque. And then we'll just grab all of that, excluding the paths. Let's try that again. Duplicate that over. Lovely. And let's just add some flowers along here as well. Let's get some nice bushes. Maybe some lavender. A few plain bushes around here. And let's actually remove that. I didn't realize that was one of our dead trees or dead bushes. I think for now that looks quite nice. And we'll leave the back of this. Maybe a few trees in here. Let's just use the temperate brush. Just pop a few trees around the back here and maybe a few rocks along here. And a few rocks around here. Maybe some autumnal ones as well. Let's take that intensity up and hopefully get a few more in here. Let's get rid of the avoid scenery. I think that might be causing our problems. But we'll keep this gap open here for the view from the garden. And let's bring the ground over a bit here too. Okay, that's this center area finished. Let's just have a little look from our first-person camera. It's nice and floral, very happy. That's all kind of gloomy and foreboding. That looks quite cool, actually. And I think that looks very, very awesome. Okay. Let's finish up over here and then we will be done with this area of the park. I'm not sure if we're going to keep this here. I think another coaster here might be better because we can pass by the restaurant here, which I think would be really, really awesome. But for now we'll leave it here. It's probably making us a lot of money. Yep. We can move it somewhere else, but for now it can stay. I think we'll just stick with a floral theme around this area. This is definitely more of a kids ride. Let's get a few regular bushes in here. And then we can start with some of our nicer, colourful bits. Something a bit like this. And maybe we can add a few more trees in here. Let's get some autumnal ones just to really differentiate it from the darker side of the park. And we'll do a few more bits of greenery over here and then just block off this section with some trees. Got this bit all finished up, and I think the last thing that I will do before calling at least this area complete is add a small sign here for kind of the area, and we'll pop a few lights around as well because I think, let's see how it looks. The park is probably very dark. Apart from this area here and a little bit of the lumberdrake, it is a very dark. Ooh, that looks very cool at night. Spooky. So yeah, we'll do this area here and then we'll do our lighting. We could have something as simple as this. Just going across the top here. Maybe from here. As if it's sort of landed in the building. ridiculously happy guests. We could have something like that. And, ooh, we've got a little shadow here. Let's move that forward a bit. Let's see if we can get a nice shadow on there that could look very cool. Let's see if we can get this much larger. And maybe looking like it's sort of crashed into here. Let's see what we can do. We could add a tree. And twist that around. That could look quite cool. And then we don't really have to worry about making this all look too cracked. Yeah, I think we'll leave it like that. And then we'll just get our text and spell out Drakewood or Dragonwood, whatever we want to call it. We could even have the text hanging off of rope. I know we've got some rope somewhere. Got these types of ropes. We just need to get it aligned nicely. So I think if we just use the regular letters and maybe find something to make it look like it's been drilled into the wood. I think that could look quite cool. Let's see if we can manage it. Let's see what color looks best for them. I'm not sure on the red. Maybe a green? Or even a black. Let's try the deep green. Something like that. Perhaps we could also use a sign as a backdrop. Or we could use those nice pieces of wood that we had on the lumberdrake. Let's see. Something like that, and then just push that back a little bit so it's not going through the R. Yeah, I think this could be quite good. It gives it a little bit of a border, but it doesn't overpower the tree. We could have a beware sign dangling underneath. Let's have a look for that sign that has nice strings attached to it. I'm quite sure it's in the Western theme. There we go. Just adds a little extra something. So I'll bring that down and twist it around slightly. Let's make sure that both strings are tucked behind, and then we can write. I think that font actually works quite well. Should we have it in the red? And just tuck it up a little bit more and maybe shrink it a tad as well. Yeah, just adds a little extra. And let's have a look from our guest perspective. That's quite cool. And what did we need to do last? We needed some lights. And luckily enough, I have some blueprints for that. Very elaborate lights. So let's put some on the corners here. And then we've got some with hanging baskets on them too. So we could have a few of those dotted around. Let's tuck one in here. And then we'll definitely keep the floral version up here. Let's get our lights there. And I think we'll also do a version that is slightly less elaborate. make that a scenery group and just pop a few of these around. And I think we've got enough lights in this path. Let's actually go to nighttime and see what we're working with. Let's put a few here. I think for now we'll keep our Ravenswood, Drakewood lanterns the same. Or let's have a look and see what we have in our... I think we might have a more wooden version. We have this, or could go with this kind of Viking lamp. Let's do that. It's very bright up here. Let's tuck that in there. And get a few lights going on our track here. And then some on our treetop exit. And then let's get some nice lighting going onto the sign here. Let's have a little look and find our nice big beam lights. Let's go for this one and try and get something. Should we go for red or should we go for green? I think we go for green. And Lumberdrake is well lit, I think, and we'll just get a little bit of lighting here and remove our little guest statue there. Let's change these ones to red and yellow. I think that should be fine. So we've got 2 rides in this area. And the rest of the park is now quite well lit. I think we'll put maybe one just under here. Let's go for a nice purple. Let's get some good coloured lighting going on. And maybe a few more bits of purple around and about. I think we'll keep that yellow, just to give that kind of cozy and warm, inviting feeling. Which you kind of want from a restaurant. And then I think we'll just do this area here, and we'll call that the end of the video. So let's get some flowers down here, and some nice bushes. We are done. Let's have one final look from our guest perspective. Maybe we'll do one in the day and one in the night. So far, I am very, very happy with how this turned out. This is the best kind of park I've ever made in Planet Coaster, and we're not even a fifth of the way finished. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's looking. I think this park has a lot of potential to be pretty cool. It's definitely shaping out kind of how I envisioned it, which is really nice. I'm hoping that you guys like it as well, and that you've enjoyed watching me on this journey, getting this little area up and running. We are on day 5, so it's been quite a while, and we are making money, which is good. I don't know if I'm on some kind of easy mode. I did put it on medium, I believe. And as I said at the beginning of the video, we do have 4 kingdoms for this whole park planned. And each kingdom should have maybe 3 or 4 kind of park sections, individual sections. So we've got one more for the human kingdom, and hopefully next episode we'll start on our next kingdom, which will either be a more kind of stony, dark, gritty kingdom, sort of loosely based on kind of Tolkien dwarves, or it would be the Elven Kingdom. The fourth kingdom planned, I think, is going to be sort of a mermaid kingdom for our water park area, which I think would look quite cool, probably using a lot of the Greek theming. So yeah, if you're interested in watching along on that journey and seeing how the rest of the park unfolds, please do consider giving me a subscribe, and any likes and comments are also very, very helpful to grow the channel. I really hope you enjoyed this video and it helped you relax or fall asleep, and hopefully see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.